Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, this is going to be a great show. I hope you've got a pen and a piece of paper handy. Take some notes. If you've got any questions, you can go to Ustream. At Ustream, you register. You can chat live with me online. Be more than happy to put your questions out there, deal with them, be able to address them. Now, Michael's been working diligently, I know, so that we can try to go to a live podcast. We'll update you with that information shortly. And ultimately, we're going to gear ourselves to a morning show and an afternoon show. I think we'll be able to get to that spot next week. Michael, does that sound pretty possible?
Maybe.
Maybe. And there you have it. All right. So what I want to talk about literally is that the stock market is at a place where people just don't know the direction to expect things to move. Of course, this is an area that I get really involved in, and I've got money in my own IRA. It's something I started out with, not a lot of money, 12, 14,000 a couple of years ago. I haven't added anything to it. It's right at 26,000 today. Now, I can tell you that I try to buy American. I try to think about things that way. Even if your vehicle's not, quote, an American-made name, most of the work has probably taken place here in the United States. But that having been said, I invested in Ford back when they decided not to take the bailout money. The stock was trading around $4. Today it's at 17. I bought a little bit into JCPenney because gosh knows I'd like to see America stand back up in spite of the fact that we support a whole lot of people that make goods and services overseas. We're still trying to put people back to work. Starbucks, certainly stellar kind of numbers, and I own a little bit. I own some Visa, and of course, that was kind of a contrarian attitude when I think about Larry Burkett, who used to say, if you want to get yourself trimmed and be frugal, stop buying foo-foo coffee at $5 a cup and don't use your credit card to buy it. Well, Americans obviously do exactly that. Starbucks is roaring in value. The tea market is something that they're honing very strong. And so for me, I put Starbucks and Visa both in my IRA because people are going to continue to buy coffee and they're going to continue to use their credit cards. Now, I did buy AIG. That's been a great stock. I've been part of the stock split. All of which is to really just tell you that in days where we see gold or silver being manipulated, as it always will be, I own a little bit of GLD and SLV. It's not very many shares. It doesn't make up much more than about 12 to 13% of my portfolio, but ultimately I am a gold bug. And so it's with that in mind that I look at what's happening on the other side of the aisle. I look at the fact that the banking system is precariously balanced and that it's not going to take much to send the banking system upside down. More leverage, more use of your cash to allow other investments in their portfolio. As an example, I'm looking online just before we went on air, and Ally, that's the old GMAC, is offering a 0.98% annual APR, which means you're really going to get less than 1% on your money. But even so, the banks are now dropping their down payments to 5%. Yes, you will have PMI, but the banks are willing to take the risk if you've got perfect credit and allow you to buy property, own a home, maybe a second home. At 5% down, the leverage factor goes up exponentially even greater. If the appraisals are off, if the market's being cooked again, guess what, folks? We're going to have the same problem. Now, I had breakfast this morning with a good friend, and talking about this being election day, we've got some major issues. By the way, real quick, my prayers go out to Gary Kubiak, the Texans, the family of Gary for what may have been a minor stroke that occurred Sunday night. And so my prayers out to the family and to the Texans and everyone who's praying for them. In contemplating what's going on out there and having this conversation this morning, ultimately we share a concern over the current administration and how the State of the Union is being run. This is somebody who does not endorse the president. He's not an advocate of Obamacare, doesn't like anything to do with the current administration. However, in looking at what's going on a national basis, the problem of having a GOP majority could be equally as dangerous, because the inside party fighting makes it really bad. Consider the Democrats, consider the Tea Party, the independents, and you've got this problem of compromise. And folks, nobody's going to compromise. That's the bottom line. That's what the 16-day furlough was about. Now, I see the oil prices dropping. I think everyone's excited about it. And the fact that you hear national news talking about U.S. oil independence, we're creating more oil, the prices are coming down, the dollar's getting beat up today. It's been all over the board. Now almost everything is in the green with the exception of the Chinese currency and the Canadian currency. The XAU is up. The Dow is up. The NASDAQ is up. You see lots of green and very little red today. But look in the metals pits, and they're flat to just minus a little bit. I don't believe for a moment that it's time to see the metals drop out of favor, and they're going to go test near all-time lows. It costs too much to produce it. And when you see a major sale today versus what happened over 20 years ago, the metal is gobbled up rather quickly. Central banks are gobbling it up. Investors are gobbling it up, both here in the States and overseas. And so when you look at the value of paper, and I don't care how you analyze it, whether it's stocks or bonds, whether it's debentures, whether it's mortgage money, the bottom line is it's tangible assets that matter. They're the ones that you can fall back on. So looking at bank loans being issued out at 5%, seeing the highs of September loans that were approaching 5% APRs, we're now talking about a test that may be lower than we were in 2008 and 2009. So refinancing your home may almost be back on the table again. The economy is in a precarious spot. It's very volatile. And so you look at what's going to happen for the Christmas season. And yes, we're going to have a hard time. People are really very concerned about what they're going to do, how durable are the goods that they're going to acquire, what's it going to be like for the major retailers. Heck, you know that right after Halloween, you see all the Christmas ornaments and all the goodies come out, so they're already stocked up. The grocery stores, the retailers are heavy in their inventories. And so manufacturing will suffer a blow over the next 30 to 90 days. And of course, as we get to stronger, more consistent figures out of the unemployment office, not just ADP, but the manipulation of all those numbers are going to come home to roost. I know that the mayor up in Toronto admitted to smoking crack cocaine. Okay? You know, whether he did or didn't, what matters is what happens in Toronto. Does city government flourish or not? Well, we're obviously at a place where we don't want to look at a political figure and endorse or condone the behavior. But what are we going to do about it? That's the question. For me, folks, it's the best time to be utilizing your IRA and looking at the precious metals, because this is a market that is poised to continue to rise. Now, does that mean that there may not be a test below $1,300 gold, or maybe we'll go below $20 silver? If we do, it's probably short-lived, because you've got to remember, you're talking about your 20,000 or your 100,000, or maybe it's the 700,000 or 800,000 you've put away. And what happens to the value of it over time? And what are the other investments that are out there? And what's going to happen to the dollar? And all I can tell you is that quantitative easing is here to stay. And it's the simple fact that it makes the stock market rise now. Down the road, a year, 2 years, it could be 3 or 4 years, At some point, we're going to have to pay higher interest rates. The higher interest rates will have an effect on the economy. And while we talk about the price of oil coming down, while we see gasoline prices in the 270, 280 range, 34 states out of the 50 have gasoline prices below $3. What happens if there's any interruption? If there's any kind of chaos? You know, we see the guns and we see the pain at LAX. We see teachers who are shot in their schools. All of those things occur on an at-home basis that affect all of us. But what happens if there's a major catastrophe? What if there's another 9/11? What if there's an interruption in a nuclear reactor or a pipeline? We could see the price of gas turn in a heartbeat. And frankly, if all of the guys, the big investors, start shorting markets, the markets go down. It's the ones who can find the bottom, who get near a bottom, that go in, that will make the most money down the road. And everybody is seeking leveraged protection. Everybody is. Everyone wants a good deal. I understand that. But just because somebody quotes a price doesn't mean it's a good deal or a bad deal. And I honed in on that topic last week, talking about somebody who was trying to figure out how to get a better price than the $2 an ounce on a 1 ounce gold American Eagle. And it wasn't the $2. It was the fact that the gentleman was trying to structure a transaction, and flat out, I put my foot down and stopped it. Sir, the guy's quoting you a fair price for $2. You ought to keep doing business with him. Well, I've spent my $10,000 and I want to keep using cash. And so I'll pay the extra $2. I'm not interested. I'm not interested because you've already told me you're doing it to structure a transaction. Now, laws and rules change all the time. And ultimately, you need to be able to deal with somebody who's going to shoot you straight. And that's what this is about. Now, if you've got questions, if you've talked to other dealers and you want to know that the price you're getting quoted is fair, call me at the store. It's 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. I'll be more than happy to take your call if I'm available. You can call toll free. That's 877-705-2646. Again, hit option 0. That way you don't get trapped in the phone system. You can email me anytime. That's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. And it's really important to note that when I'm on and the stream is live, you can register with Ustream. You can link in and ask questions or chat with me. It's a really important time to be able to disseminate through the information. And Michael reported with me this morning over 500 shows, in excess of 300 hours of audio and visual time. Folks, this is the time to be able to ask the questions. And frankly, across the board, there are over 6,000 dealers in this industry. And there's so many that have popped up, just like the gold buying shops that popped up here in my community. I was the original gold buyer in the Humble area. Today, there's probably 20 of them within 10 miles of my office. They're starting to close the doors because the only thing they knew was to buy broken gold. And then they got into coinage. And when they got into the coinage, they didn't know what they were doing. They just turned things upside down and hid their transactions. There are several of those guys that are going to be scrutinized by law enforcement, that will definitely be going to jail. And ultimately, there are people who find those people and they do business with them. Look, there's no free meal out there. That goes without saying. But you need somebody who's got the impetus, who understands the marketplace, and will shoot you a straight deal. Now, I had a lady in the store the other day. She was trying to sell some gems. I'm sorry to say she and her husband got caught at retail in one of the big malls in the area. But the items that she owned had very little, quote, retail value to them. It was just stuff. I sent her to a jeweler. I told the jeweler to make sure to give her a straight shot and explain exactly what she had. And then I gave her a couple of other options that I thought she could go to coming into the Christmas season and try to raise some extra money on things that I had no interest in. Because let's face it, there's no shortage of gold or jewelry or anything else out there. Rare coins are where it's at, and the rarest of coins have appreciated so much. You're trying to figure out how to buy gold and silver as cheap as you possibly can. And for me, I appreciate that. However, it's not about owning the least expensive product that you can get your hands on. We're working on an IRA brochure, and I think Michael will be ready to try to upload that maybe today or tomorrow. But ultimately, it will give you some of the answers to some of the questions you should have about moving into precious metals utilizing an IRA. It's a simple transfer. It's a little bit of paperwork. That's the easy side of this. Owning the right metal, however, that's paramount. Now, a lot of people want gold because of its portability. Obviously, platinum offers a great deal of protection as well, certainly down more than any of the metals in relation to where it's been. Silver's still the number one play, but it is not the number one buy. I love platinum. I love gold. I want rarity because right now I don't have to pay an exorbitant premium to get the rarity. That's the benefit. So when I can see that platinum is trading at 9% over the price of gold, going out and obtaining a lot of platinum, most people won't do it. But folks, I'm telling you, the premiums are low on American Eagle products. You can get into koalas or you can get maple leafs. You can put that stuff into an IRA. Silver, in its 90% junk form, is not going to be segregated. Doesn't have to be. So when your material shows up to be stored at the depository, 90% junk silver is exempt and is not going to be segregated. The gold coins, the silver coins, those will be segregated. And not certified coins. That's important. Now, I know a lot of companies, most of them are on the West Coast in the greater Los Angeles area. They want to sell you proof gold eagles or proof silver eagles. They want to mark them up as much as they can get away with. Well, frankly, that's not the way to go. You need to have diversification, and a third, and a third is the way to do it. There's lots of different coins out there. And whether you're looking at, for your IRA, gold American Eagles, maybe a little bit of maple leaf gold, because as long as the gold is 24 karat, you can put it in your IRA. There is a major play in half-ounce gold eagles and in spouse gold. And I don't talk about them very much, but there's some great plays out there that you need to be able to take advantage of. When you get outside of your IRA and you're talking about securing your own assets for the long haul, it's important to own multiple types of coins in multiple qualities. That's how you stay above the fray and meet the criteria that Ronald Reagan signed when he signed Public Law 99-185. That's the law that authorized the Treasury to begin making gold coins again. Now, in 2006, the U.S. Mint entered the 24-karat gold market, and we, quote, introduced the buffalo. Now, buffaloes originally were made in proof, and then in 07, we got to the sheets of 20 coins, and they're protected, and they're made at the mint, and the coins are beautiful. In 2008, the U.S. Mint started making a fractional buffalo. And the fractional buffaloes, if you can get your hands on a 10th ounce buffalo, where you can buy a 10th ounce gold eagle for maybe $155, $160, a 10th ounce buffalo is going to cost between $300 and $500, depending on whether it's graded or not, and the quality and who graded it down the road. Those things matter. The sets will trade for double what a set of gold eagles trades for, because they're very, very limited in how many sets were produced before the U.S. Mint ceased operation. Now, folks, those factors are very important. And ultimately, it was at a time when we found areas of the market that were undervalued, overlooked, and we made things happen truly rare. The U.S. Mint forced rarity into the equation, and by forcing rarity, I'm talking about spouse gold. Mintages were high in the first couple of years, and nobody got real interested in them. 24 karat half-ounce gold coins, and quote, guess what? The market and the mintage dropped, the U.S. Mint forced rarity in, and you can own coins that are very, very, very rare. Building sets of spouse coins, whether they're in proof or in business strikes, they matter. And they're going to matter more as we move forward because, frankly, more people get on the bandwagon. As they get on the bandwagon, those things matter. And as they matter, prices rise because there's not a lot of it. And when you find that there's not a lot of it out there, that's when rarity starts to really peak. And so what I'm talking about is the simple fact that we look at a place where material is hard to get. And when I talk about hard to get, I'm talking about 1990, 88 to 91 half-ounce gold American Eagles. When you can't get them and you want them or need them, that forces the price to rise. And so it's from that standpoint that my biggest concern is that if a lot of you decided to start moving money around, 100,000 10 times is a million. Well, if you do that 10 times, you're at 10 million. The numbers go exponentially very quickly. And so this is a market that can be easily manipulated. It can be manipulated when the big banks are chasing gold or silver or platinum or any stock company, whether it's on the NASDAQ or the Dow, doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that dealers look for areas that they can sell, period. Whether it's the beauty of a coin, whether it's the rarity of a coin, dealers can force rarity in a moment. Now, I was offered a Mint State 62 $2.50 Indian gold set today in Mint State 62. I'd sell the set for $21,500. The coins are all matched. They're NGC graded. Neat set. Only 15 coins make up the complete set. Those coins were struck from 1908 to 1929. Yes, that's more than the 15 different dates. Ultimately, the coins stopped being produced from 1916 to 1924. They started again in 25. And the reason was, as the Panama Canal was being built, the Surgeon General decided that malaria could be spread in the incuse design. That means inside the metal is how $2.50 Indian and $5 Indian gold coins were struck. As incuse, the Surgeon General stopped production. Now, I tried to explain to a client today. He owns some $10 gold pieces, original, back pre-1930. And ultimately, I tried to explain what it is that we look for to determine if the coins really are uncirculated. An uncirculated Liberty gold piece, if it's not struck in New Orleans, should have well-defined hair right above the ear. If it's an Indian gold piece, you flip it on the reverse, that would be the back of the coin, and you look at the chest on the eagle. If at the top of the chest you don't see feathers, you've got a circulated coin. It's very simple, very basic. I refer people to the Red Book all the time, and the Red Book, in its 67th edition, will help guide you through the different ins and outs of what graders are supposed to look for, quote, when they're grading the coins. Coin grading is very subjective, and there are a lot of criteria. I had a conversation again with this gentleman this morning, and we were talking specifically about the evaluation of some of the coins that I had just submitted to the grading company. Now, I have 6 very, very high-grade New Orleans Mint silver dollars. And, you know, I've been doing this for over 25 years, so I can pretty much look at a coin and kind of give you a feel for it. But unfortunately, not being one of the graders, I can't tell you what they're going to grade the coin. Ultimately, these grade points matter a great deal. You can have one grade point affect the value of a coin from a $5,000 level to a high-end piece in the same quality that goes for $7,000 to the next grade that takes it up to $15,000 or $20,000. And so the client is asking me, Brett, you've been doing this for a long time. What do you think the coins are going to grade? And, you know, honestly, I don't know. New Orleans Mint coins were struck and they come very weak. Most of the presses were screw presses. It means they had to apply the pressure to get the coin struck out. As time went on, New Orleans updated its material, but you've got to remember that the New Orleans Mint began striking coins over 100 years ago. So when we look at the value of coins, a grade point can literally affect the value of a coin by more than double. And so where I think I've got a coin that may grade 65 and it looks better than the 66s, they could grade the darn thing MS 61 or 62. And so a $2,000 coin could be a $3,000 coin or a $10,000 coin or a $20,000 coin. There's just no way to know. The Red Book. The Red Book will lead you into coins that date all the way back to the colonies. Great amount of history, and I know some of you are going to say, Brett, you're talking about the same stuff you've talked about in the past. Well, you're right, because the story stays the same. The question is, what involvement do you want in the industry? Now, because there are 180,000 coins, that's 9,000 coins in 20 different grades, so you don't think I've lost my mind, 180,000 different type and grade. Then there's billions of coins. Of billions of coins, there's nobody out there who's going to, quote, affect the market directly. However, if you've got friends and you've got family that are looking for a way to build a portfolio around some protection, the reason you do it is as a hedge. You hedge yourself against the economy. You hedge yourself against politicians. You hedge yourself against the value of currencies. All of which is to say, you put a third of it in the cheapest precious metal you can own, whether it's gold, silver, or platinum. Yes, you can add palladium. And then you get into semi-numismatic. Now, semi-rare coins don't mean you're paying stupid premiums. Now, I tried to explain that to a client the other day. We've gone back, Doug and I probably go back into 1998 or 99 when we first met. And he's still trying to get his full grasp of a coin that would sell for $45 that dealers will pay $43 for the coin. On a 5% margin, a little bit less. It's not a lot of money. You better spend a lot for me to make a decent living and take care of my expenses and my employees and my overhead and blah, blah, blah. But paying double what the metal is worth is not the smartest move, ever. Yes, you want some of it when you feel the market's cheap, and I can't tell you currently at $21.75 silver if that's the cheapest it's going to be today, tomorrow, next week, next year. I don't know. I believe that the prices will be higher, mostly because Tim Geithner and Ben Bernanke believe that. And I know that Miss Yellen is, quote, supposed to be nominated. Rand Paul is just one force that's going to work against her. There's more that are coming onto the plate, and the president's got more decisions to make. You put semi-rare coins into the portfolio because they don't rely on the precious metal to make them rise. If you put all your money into the cheapest silver, if you had 60 grand and you bought in at $33 silver, and here we are at $21.75, you can pretty much bank on the fact that you're down 35 to 40%. And if it was on 60 grand, you'd have dropped, quote, $12,000. And you'd be, well, that would be 24,000. So now you're really in trouble. By diversifying it and putting it in multiple areas, in rare coins as well as semi-rare coins, you've hedged your bet. You've protected the bulk of the portfolio. And why do I do it? I do it so that I'm right more than I'm wrong. I may not be able to pick women and employees some days, but you know what? I understand this part of the market, and it's major important to write down questions, because you can ask 10 different coin dealers what they like and why, and you're going to get 10 different answers. The first time I addressed a group was in Los Angeles, and I was representing a big company. There was a 5-man roundtable, and one of the participants was sick. So they asked me to fill in. And I was probably the junior at the table at that day. And we were addressing probably a couple of hundred people. And the last question in this control group literally was about $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces. The 4 dealers ahead of me were all talking about them being a great play, a great opportunity. You could see the market rise and trade out 1 coin for 2 ounces of gold, and it was just a place to be. And then they got to me, and they asked me what I thought. And I was pretty blunt when I said, I think they're all trying to rip you off, and I don't think they're the best play. And I still don't. If you're looking to add gold into your portfolio, do $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces in one of the lowest grades you can get because you can own multiple dates of them. Get into $20 Liberty gold coins. Again, if you're looking for 50 to 100 ounces of gold, it's a great play. Do not make the mistake of owning one type of coin. On May 1st of 1933, that's when President Roosevelt enacted the gold confiscation rules. If you were a collector, pure and simple, if you own multiple types of coins in multiple qualities, you could substantiate that you collected and you were exempt from confiscation. If you hoarded gold, it was taken. And that is true of European gold, all fractional gold. If all you were doing was holding on to gold, it was taken from you. Silver was exempt in coin form because our coinage was 90% silver from 1964 back. First silver coin was struck in 1792. So from 1792 to 1964, we owned silver that was 90% pure. We did not make a pure silver coin until 1986 when Ronald Reagan authorized the Treasury to start making silver eagles. Now those coins come in proof and in business strike. And I had a call from another dealer this morning. He asked me questions about the proof silver American Eagles, the common coins. The bid on them runs in the neighborhood of about 50 bucks, maybe as low as 48, 49, to a high of thousands if you had the 95W, which was not on the conversation. That's not where we were focused. Ultimately, at the bottom of the market in 2010, there was a client that paid $90 a piece for common proof silver eagles. Those were coins that I was selling at about 55 bucks back then. So even though silver has taken this wild aberration, in 2011, when we saw $49.75 for silver, I know the coins brought more money, but they never got to that price range for the commons. Clients in trouble, dealers trying to help figure it out, and we consulted on it. And just on the if chance the client wanted to pull the trigger and get out, I told the dealer who he should call and how to go about doing that transaction specifically. The great thing about rare coins is they are not subjected to the volatility of the precious metal or the intrinsic metal that makes up that coin. And that's why a third, and a third works so well. Now, there are a lot of people that own 40%, 40%, and 20%. And we'll move the numbers around so that you've got comfort and you rest comfortably at night, because the worst thing that could happen is that you or your spouse come straight up out of bed at 2 in the morning and you say, oh my God, what did I do? Whether you did it with me or not. Folks, I've helped the Internal Revenue and I've helped many government agencies look into other areas of markets, whether it's people that they're looking at for purposes of an evaluation of what they've done. Doesn't really matter. What matters is having knowledge and sharing it. This is just one medium. If you're in the Houston area and you'd like to stop by, please come by. We're in Humble at 113 West 1st Street. You can call the store 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Call toll free outside of the Houston market, 877-705-2646. Email me anytime, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. I answer emails Monday through Saturday. Try to stop working by 7 to 8 o'clock at night. I never work on Sundays. That's a day of rest. But ultimately, these are important times to manage your money properly. And if you've got a financial planner or a money manager, if you're consulting with a friend or your accountant, All of those people are important. And this is not load your wagon until your axles break. This is a clear, concise, and logical way of looking at a market, putting together something that makes sense, and ultimately having something to fall back on. Now, whether you fall back on it or you spread it down and you hand it off to your heirs, whether that's in trust or not, those are all decisions that you need to make with the appropriate professional. My job is pretty simple. It's to be fair and honest, give you a fair price for the material that you either buy, sell, or trade, and make sure that what you own is something that somebody else is going to want. It's pretty simple stuff. Now, I can tell you point blank that back in 1998 and 99, I helped accomplish the very first complete certified set of $20 Liberty Gold pieces. That's one example from each date and mint mark from 1850 to 1907, including the 3 proof-only years of 1883, 1884, and 1887. The coins themselves were supposed to all be in the finest 100 known. There were a couple of shipwrecks that came out that affected the value, but the coins themselves that went in the portfolio were all high-end. I can tell you that in the New Orleans set, which is a subset of this collection, every coin was in the finest 10 or finest known, and today there are many more coins in higher grade than when I completed the set in 1999, but they trade for sizable profits. Coins that trade for 6 and 8 times what they originally traded for. Those coins exist. And yes, there are some that probably are at or below what originally was paid for them, but the coins were pristine. All of them sold. The set today that took about $3 million to build back then would probably take somewhere between 18 and 20 million today. I did it in 8 months, but I had the money available. And so that's what I'm going to tell you really. Whether you're looking to spend $100 or $100,000 or $100 million, whether you represent the company that is worried about their stock plan, whether you're worried about the way you've invested your funds, give me a shout or send me an email. Be more than happy to sit down and lay out a game plan that is clear, concise, and logical and just makes sense. I never want to get off air without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Now, Texas Children's is near and dear to my heart. My son Jason spent 6 weeks there in 2011. The Downs Clinic, Jason has very mild Downs. If you will click on the donation link at themeltdown.com, you can donate directly to the facility. They will ask you for your name, your information, how much you're going to provide, whether it's a tithe or an offering, doesn't matter to me, and the information is all anonymous. If you're going to donate to the Ronald McDonald House, if you can provide a hot meal for between 20 and 50 people at night, if you want to make a donation, tithe or an offering, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen has been running that facility the last several years, and I appreciate the doctors, nurses, staff, and of course the volunteers at Texas Children's throughout the medical center and all over the country and the world, because children are our true best advantage for our future. We need to bring them up properly, and we need to take care of the ones that need to be taken care of. Now, folks, I appreciate you listening in. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll have our post up by 3. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me, 281-548-2646, or toll-free 877-705-2646. Email me, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. Have a great day, and God bless you.
Still on there. Did you get the buttons?